Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Elder Scrolls Lore. Now before we hop into everything, again, I just kind of want to make a huge shout out and thank you to everyone in this community for allowing me to reach 750 subscribers. I believe we're at 756 at the moment, but I always kind of wait a little bit because I want to see if I'll actually stay at 750 or go down one or up one, down two, up two, whatever. Right? It kind of fluctuates a little bit, but I want to say thank you to everyone because this has been a phenomenal journey so far, and I want you guys are every little bit as part of it as I am. So I know I said thank you in the last video, but again, I can't stress it enough because it really does feel like we've really accomplished something kind of big here. And you know, on a grand scale of things, it seems relatively minuscule, but at the same time, it's 756 people. That's a lot of people. It really is. So with that, let's hop into the lore. One more thing I want to make a big shout out to Ares for allowing me to use his music on my channel. That's a big part of the reason why I've been able to be as successful as I am, because I'm able to use his music and he allows me to use it, and he makes wonderful stuff. He's made me stuff as well, and phenomenal guy. And on top of that, I want to say thank you to Frederick1001 on DeviantArt. He is a wonderful artist, and he has allowed me to use his artwork on my channel as well, and hasn't really asked for anything in return other than a shout out. So it's wonderful that he's allowed me to do that as well. But with that, let's hop into the lore. So recently, it was when I did the video on the Somerset Isles, I was a little bit fascinated on the idea of what's going to happen to the Somerset Isles. What's going to happen to the Third Aldmeri Dominion. And I kind of, as I was doing research, you know, you start figuring things out. I started discussing things in my head and figuring what's going to happen to them, and more than likely it seems like that the Great War, the Second Great War, is going to be more inevitable than ever, because when all failing countries, or countries that are really trying to unify and get together and stand together, they try to find a unifying enemy, and it's a tried and proven tactic that typically fails. So I don't know whether or not it will work for the Dominion, but in this scenario, I don't think it will not work out in the favor of the Dominion, at least. So in my theory here, and this is what I would imagine, and this is me using history with our history with the lore at least. So essentially, we have the Third Aldmeri Dominion ruling in the Somerset Isles, obviously Valenwood, and they have two client kingdoms in Elsewhere. Now, as far as we are aware from people like Malborn and the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, there are purges going on against anti-Thalmor people, or I guess residents. You know, it makes a lot of sense. You know, the Thalmor represent this really stern, hateful group, and there is going to be resistance against it, considering that all their coming to powers have happened through violence. So we see it in Valenwood, and more than likely it's happening in the Somerset Isles as well. The only place I don't see it actually happening is going to be in Elsewhere with the two client kingdoms, because of the fact of how they assimilated that into the empire, into their empire. I guess they had the Void Knights go on, and they took credit, and the Khajiit kingdoms basically didn't submit, but then the Main was assassinated, and I essentially see them. They come down and become client kingdoms after the Main is killed and the Elsewhere Confederacy is dissolved. At the same time, there was a Thalmor-based coup in Elsewhere, so that there is that. But how this happens is that the Second Great War is going to be needed to bring them together, and whether or not this will work, this will go of two ways. It will either be very successful and the Dominion will beat the Empire, and you know, whether they take casualties or not, that's over and done with, and they will control all of Tamriel. The second of which is that the Dominion loses, or starts losing the war, because that's where it gets more interesting. So this is where it can go one of two routes as well. It can be either go where the Dominion loses and they decide to adopt a more lax grip on their territory and lax grip on their government, and be a little bit more reforming to the people that live within there, or we go into the more interesting route where there's a civil war that breaks out because of all the suppression and chaos that's going on within the Dominion. So when the Dominion dissolves, or if the Dominion falls into a civil war, essentially we will immediately see in Valenwood a rise of Imperial supporters in the north. well, the northern end of the province, and essentially they're going to be raising for the Empire to come back, or we'll get a group that will be raising for its own independence. More than likely, we'll see the Empire try to regain control of Allenwood, and that's where I see that going in terms of there. Will it be successful? We don't know. Obviously, in that case, there's a lot that's going into too many what-ifs in that situation, but we do know that there are Imperial supporters within there that the Blades and the Empire just told to kind of quietly keep their peace and wait for the time to come. As for Ellisware, I think Ellisware will go off into two directions as well. They'll either become their own independent kingdoms, or they'll become, actually I guess three ways here. They'll become the client states to the Empire, or they have a new Bane, yeah, like I've been playing a lot of Batman lately. I've been playing the Dark Knight, the Arkham Knight, and I've been trying to Platinum Trophy it, so Batman's been on my mind lately. But back to the lore or theory, I guess, and they'll either become client states of the Empire, or they will have a new main be born. Like a new main will be born during this time period, and they will see the rise of the Ellisware Confederacy once more. And that's how that will go there. But mainly the Somerset Isles is where we're going to see the Prime War happen. I hope we get to see something similar to it, or if this is correct, I hope we see all of it, actually. If I'm correct, I would love to be correct here. But obviously this is just a theory. So we have this civil war start going on in the Somerset Isles, and we're going to have it against most likely the Royalists who want to see the monarchy return, and the Thalmor, because the Royalists, despite all the purging and everything that's going on, the more you purge someone for being your enemy, the more you create a martyr, and the more supporters you're going to give to the other side. It's the idea that you kill one enemy and birth two more. So essentially that's what I think is going to happen. And finally, when you see a weakened Dominion losing this war, I think the Civil War, the Royalists will see this and take this opportunity to strike out and take back what was rightfully there, or right back what was once theirs. And so I think this is how the Aldmeri Dominion would collapse if it was going to collapse. I think the kingdoms would split off and become either independent or client states of the Empire, or even unify, or we will see and we will see Valenwood either split off or become independent as well, or join the Empire. And lastly, with the Somerset Isles, I think the Somerset Isles would become a client kingdom of the Empire in this situation. The Royalists would necessarily regain their authority, regain their power, and it's not saying that they wouldn't necessarily be independent and that they wouldn't have that capability of being independent. I think if the Empire is able to defeat the Third Aldmeri Dominion, they wouldn't necessarily let just all their eyes go and turn away from them, because they're going to want to keep an eye on these people. They obviously caused a lot of strife and a lot of problems for the Empire, so I think they're going to want to keep a close eye and have all hands on into the politics. So a client kingdom seems most likely coming out of the Somerset Isles. And it's just something I want. This whole thing is just something I wanted to discuss. I don't have any specific details, because that's just going into too much what ifs in that case. I think that this analysis is something that's very broad, but at the same time more realistic than going into something so in-depth, because the more I go in-depth, the more things can be unrealistic or seem kind of fake or false or more opinionated. And that's why I think that in this situation it's better to stay a little bit broad. And now whether or not it will happen is obviously in terms of what we will see in this case, because we don't have anything on the Elder Scrolls 6 other than a 2-second footage of the landscape. So whether or not that's true is beyond me, but I hope you guys enjoyed this little talk. It's something a little bit different than what's been going on lately. I wanted to do something a bit more friendly, a bit more casual with you guys lately. You know, it just hit 750 subs. It's just, you know, it's something a little bit different. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. As always, if you just stumbled upon the channel and, you know, you enjoyed, please hit that like button and maybe consider subscribing. I post 4 times a week, and I post once a month with Dragon Age. So everything else is once a week though. But other than that, if you're a returning subscriber, I hope you really enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed this video to an extent. I want to know your thoughts about the more casual style, about if you kind of like more casual talks about this, because we will do more like that if you would like. But at the same time, if you want more hardcore based off of lore scripted stuff, let me know, and I hope to see you guys in the comments and in the Discord chat. I haven't done that in a while. Shout out to the Discord chat. The link is in the description. It's always in the description, but I haven't shouted it out lately. I'm like weirdly pointing down at the description in real life, like you guys are going to be somehow able to see my hands. Be like, hey, look at that. Look, look at the description, join the Discord chat, but feel free to join it. We talk about gaming lore and a bunch of other stuff. I get more updates. I'm able to update you guys more thoroughly on why I'm late on certain things, or why I'm, if I have to skip a day and be like, oh, let's come out the next day. But it's it's easier for me to discuss, certain things going on with the channel and myself as well. For example, this video in itself. This video will come out a little bit late, in the day, and that's typically what happens with lore days because I have a very busy schedule. For the 3 days before this day coming up, I have to do a lot of homework, or I either work a lot and or I want to have somewhat of a social life. So there is that, and so my schedule before the lore days tend to get a little muddled, but at the same time you guys would be able to understand that, or you'd be able to see that if you were in the Discord chat. So things like that, and plus you get a notification on when videos come out as well. But of course I have a wonderful group of people in the Discord chat as well that are fantastic. Honestly, they're fantastic. It's something I look forward to every day, is being able to communicate with people in the chat and have fun, and it's great. So a huge shout out to everyone in the chat, especially the Jarls. The Jarls are the most influential and the most active members of the chat, and they're phenomenal. I appreciate every single one of them. Obviously there are people outside the Jarls that are active as well, but with that, get more into it now. I'm just rambling on, so I wouldn't be surprised if you already clicked X out on this video. Comment if you stuck around this long. But yeah, you know what, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. If you just happened to stumble upon this video and enjoyed, maybe consider subscribing. If you are a returning subscriber and you enjoyed, please hit that like button. It really helps way more than you actually think it would. And I hope to see you all in the next video. Peace.